How Marion Works, a podcast series dedicated to informing you of the inner workings in all areas of Marion government and public services. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 6 of How Marion Works. I'm your host, Layla Price-Bodkin. The mission of the How Marion Works podcast is to inform and expose the community of Marion, Indiana, and surrounding areas to all of the moving pieces of Marion. With hundreds of employees and a population of nearly 30,000, Marion deserves to be highlighted and celebrated. We thank you and welcome you to our podcast, How Marion Works. Today's episode is Serving the City Boldly, featuring Marion Police Chief David Gilbert, Deputy Chief Chris Butche, and Deputy Chief Mark Stefanatos. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on this podcast. And we're going to start with something fun, just a fun little question. We're going to start with David Gilbert. What did you overachieve in during high school? And it can be either sports or academics.
Not much, Layla.
Not much.
I think I excelled at being a pain in the rear to my parents, maybe. And
were you a class clown?
I apologize. No, not at all. But I think I mastered how to get decent grades without doing any homework at all. And
okay, so you're more about being efficient, and so.
Well, you're being. Thank you for the positive spin on that. I think it was just irresponsible. Hanging out with friends and
were you involved in any clubs or sports?
Oh, sport, yeah. Baseball was my sport. I loved it.
Okay.
But I'll pale in comparison to these two guys sitting to my left and right as far as athleticism goes. They were true athletes. I was the guy who loved to play and had decent talent, but to play or to start.
It was more of a way to be versatile and be well-rounded.
No, I had to work hard. I had to.
Oh, did you?
I loved it, but I had to practice really hard. I didn't have that natural ability that some other guys had. So
that surprises me.
I'm proud of that.
I am surprised.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you graduated.
I did.
But we're not going to get into that yet.
Marion High School. Yeah.
Okay, Chris, but I'm actually gravitating towards you because I'm thinking of track and sports. Were you in track?
Yes, all 4 years of high school.
Would you say that that's what you overachieved in?
Track and cross country, yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know Brennan. What's he up to now? Your son.
He's a patrol officer.
And so he was big into track too. I remember.
Yeah, track and cross country. Yeah, he was able to land a full ride scholarship to IUPUI. So.
Oh, great! That is amazing.
Yeah, saved me money.
Nice. So
Chris
anything else?
Being too humble.
Okay, so I need to ask what else he overachieved in, right? Because I basically put words in your mouth.
2 words: school record.
I was a middle distance runner. Had a school record.
Cool.
800 meters. So, had a driving force. Ron Hicklin was my coach. Man, he was amazing.
It pays off to have a really good coach.
Yeah,
I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah. He ran us to death, but it carried over.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Okay.
But also, I was fortunate enough to be at Marion High School during Purple Rain time, the 80s, late 80s, and that was fun. So it was fun to attend the basketball games with 8,000 people there, and had it pretty good. The M Club. So I was part of the M Club too.
Oh, so, cool. So you had a lot of school spirit.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. Mark, did you overachieve in anything in particular in high school?
Having a good time.
Oh, man. I did not think that these answers would come out, but you were basically...
I used to have a good time when I was a kid.
Okay.
Along with my friends, and I played sports. I played football, wrestled, and track, and I did a little bit of everything. So.
Yeah.
Mark was a stellar athlete. These two guys are too humble to tell you.
What position did you play in football?
I played offensive line as a center and defensive tackle as a...
Nice. Well, very interesting. Okay, we'll get into another icebreaker later, but I would love to start with having David Gilbert tell us about his life growing up. Okay, so where you were born and raised and how that molded you and shaped you into who you are today.
Well, I wish I'd have thought about this before I came on, but I'm going to tell a secret that not too many people know. I was born in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh.
Where the aliens landed or
okay, yeah.
or recovered. I'm not sure which, but
okay.
I'm an Air Force brat. My dad was in the Air Force for 22 years and married my mom when she was 16, so their whole lives for the next 22 years were in the service, and of course I was born into that. So I spent the first half of my childhood growing up on Air Force bases all over the country.
Wow.
My dad was on B-52 bombers, and so I got to have that experience living on Air Force bases in a sheltered kind of leave it to beaver kind of a my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was serving our country in the military and during Vietnam, and so I had that. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and then my dad, they wanted to send him back overseas, and he'd been there many times in the back of a B-52 bomber, and
wow.
He said, I think I've done enough after 22 years, and they trained him in utilities, waterworks, and long story short, we moved back to his hometown, which is Marion. So I got to travel as a kid and live all over the country, and then come back and settle into a hometown environment, which is in Marion, Indiana. And that's how I ended up at McCullough Middle School and Marion High School, class of 82. And
and you goofed off a little bit, but you made it to graduation.
Yeah, I should have studied more, but I graduated from Marion High School, eventually went to Ball State University, sat out and worked a little bit to raise some money, and finally got my degree after 20 years at Ball State. Go Cardinals. And
chirp, chirp.
Yeah, just I was blessed. My parents, no offense to anyone else's, but I was blessed to have parents who raised me right, and that's the biggest privilege of my life is to be my parents' son. So
you're the youngest of 4, you said, so you were the little baby that got to get away with anything.
That's what my sisters and brothers say, but that's not true.
According to that's great.
Have you been talking to my siblings?
Nope.
Good.
Nope. I just kind of know how it works.
Yeah, I'm the baby.
And you began your career with the Marion Police Department in what year?
January of 1987.
87.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was in high school.
Mark? Any snide remarks?
1987. That'd been about 7th grade for me.
Yeah.
How old were you, David, when you joined?
I don't 21 or 2.
Okay.
I don't know.
Shortly after Ball State, and okay.
Well, I quit college to take the job, which you could do back then, but it's not so common now. I guess we'll do that now from time to time, but I thought that was unusual. I thought I would have to have a college degree, and at the time you didn't have to, and it's more prominent or prevalent now. But so I actually stopped going to school to take the job for what I was going to school for, which was pretty interesting to me. I had no idea.
Why do you think that happened the way that happened?
I just don't think the standards were as high as they might have been, at least in terms of that kind of background. College wasn't stressed as much, and
true.
But listen, I need to say this: some, if not most, of the smartest people I've met in this business never stepped foot in a college classroom. Their education came through the School of Hard Knocks and just common sense, and those are some of the best policemen that you'll ever run into, and that's been my experience. So a college degree doesn't get you anything special that you didn't earn.
So did you end up graduating from?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
I got my degree while I was working, and I'm proud that I was I'm the first chief to serve with a bachelor's degree.
I think that's a really important story to share because it's an example. It's empowering to anyone out there that is considering being a police officer. So we can definitely get into more of that later. I really appreciate that background. So Chris, would you like to talk about where you were born and raised and how you became where you are today.
Well, I was born here in Marion and raised in Marion.
Okay.
Can go way back to Martin Boots Elementary School.
Yes.
Then closed. Then Washington Hatchets.
Oh, okay.
And then Jones Panthers. And then Marion Giants.
It's being renovated. Jones is being renovated into some nice apartments.
Right, yeah. Then I left Marion for a brief time and attended Anderson University, where I ran cross country and track for 3 years.
Very cool. I'm from Anderson. That's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it there. It was a nice campus. Then, I was trying to find my way as far as what I was going to do. And my mom, who was currently a dispatcher at the Marion Police Department, encouraged me to come back and ride with an officer. So I did one night, and
that's always interesting, I'm sure. How fast did you go?
I don't know, 80 or 90 through alleys. We chased people. So I immediately went back the next Monday and changed my major to criminal justice.
Did you?
Yeah, but I didn't finish as well. I started working at the Madison County Juvenile Detention Center down there, a brand new facility then. I'd done that for about 6 years, and then came back and applied to the Marion Police Department.
Did you first apply as a dispatcher, or did you apply as a police officer?
As a police officer, yes.
Very nice.
Yes. So,
well, did you say what year that was?
1998 is when I got hired.
Okay.
It took me 2 rounds of testing to do it. I didn't get.
Hey, Chris, that was when I graduated from high school.
I didn't get chosen in 1996 for various reasons. Maybe Chief Gilbert can tell you.
Yeah, I was in charge of hiring for Chief Homer at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I...
Man.
No, he encouraged me to go work at the jail and get that experience. And that's...
Boy, that really gets you involved with the community.
A lot of our officers, we have some very fine officers that come from the jail. And I was only there 8 months, and I got a good experience and came back and got hired in May of 1998.
So that could be a segue. That could be a good route for someone?
Yes.
Okay. Well, very good. So, Mark, do you want to talk about where you were born and raised and what molded you and shaped you to be where you are now with the Marion Police Department?
I was born and raised in Wabash, Indiana.
Okay.
I had an older sister, a younger brother. I went to Wabash High School, graduated in 1992. Then I went to Vincennes University and studied criminal justice there. I was on the track team there. And then came back home after.
Did you graduate from Vincennes?
Yeah, I got an associate's degree from Vincennes. And then I came back after doing an internship with the Wabash County Sheriff's Department. And the sheriff then, Bill Wheatley, hired me as a part-time. I was trying to do both college and school at the same time. And I decided I just wanted to get to work. So I was going
training for sheriff.
Yeah, I was going to IUK in Kokomo and dropped out there and worked at the jail at Wabash County for a year. And then my dad worked at RCA over here for years. And Marion was on my radar. We'll go back to that, having a good time as a kid.
Okay.
That's why I probably wasn't hired in Wabash City.
Okay. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
You wanted to be disciplined. You were determined.
Yeah. So I had working in the jail kind of humbled me a little bit, and I decided that I wanted to go somewhere where I didn't really know a lot of people.
Sure.
I knew too many people that were there in the jail while I was working, probably.
Yeah.
And so I decided I applied over here, and I've been here ever since 1995, October 1995.
95. How Marion Works is sponsored by the City of Marion. This podcast covers the inner workings of city government to better serve you. So you, all three, you guys are in the chief's office, and you've been working together in all kinds of capacities for a long time. So, Chief Gilbert, you have been chief because you were chief before, from what year to what year?
12 years, 2004, and 12 years after. And then I say I took a sabbatical, and then Mayor Morrell appointed me a little more than a year ago, which is pretty exciting for me. I didn't intend to do that. 12 years as the chief was long enough. I'd kind of been there and done that. Was kind of.
You were thinking you were just going to get into retirement after?
Yeah, somebody else's turn. I just
again.
felt like, but after talking to Mayor Morrell a little bit about his values, and I already knew how he was raised, but his view of people being safe, what the police would offer the community or should.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing I've been thinking for 30 plus years.
So was it a pretty easy decision to get back into leadership?
I wasn't interested in doing it, to be honest with you again. But after talking to him, the juices started to flow, and I started to get excited, and I felt like the department had been kind of, I want to stay positive, but I don't think it was left. I don't think it was the way that I left it. And I really felt like there was room for improvement. After talking to the mayor, I thought, listen, we can get some good things done here.
Yeah, you had a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, so here we are. And these two guys, Mark and Chris.
So you chose, let's start with Mark. Why did you choose Mark to be the head of, basically he's considered a deputy chief, but he is the head of your operations and criminal investigations. Why did you choose Mark for that?
Well, because he bleeds blue, but he comes from that side of the house. He's a detective in his being. And some of us are blessed some of us find a job that we can make a living at, and then some of us are blessed to find what we were born to do. Mark is that guy. He's the best detective I've ever worked around. I used to say the best gene team officer, narcotics officer, but then he became captain of detectives, and that's in charge of all criminal investigations. And it was these two guys were the first two people that I talked to when I got reassigned as chief, because and that's one thing I talked to the mayor about. I need to be able to pick my assistants, because I know who the talent. I know where the talent is. I know who can help and who's respected. And Mark was put where he is because that's his background. And investigations and that kind of thing. So it was just, those are the two easiest decisions I had to make.
And then so Chris's background, that was a no-brainer for him to be a head of patrol. He's considered your other deputy chief on the same plane, correct?
Yeah, anyone who wears a blue uniform to work, he is in charge of them, that person and those people. And
how many officers are you in charge of? How many total do you have?
55 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and similar to Mark, Chris's background is he's done all kinds of things on the police department, but I think he would tell you that he sees himself as a patrol officer and at his core. So it was just easy to see that, and the talent, the experience. We're three of the oldest guys on the department, and it just that experience.
That's not true.
You can't buy that. Oh, it is true.
No.
But it's a compliment to me. Saying that as a compliment. Because that experience that comes with it is important. And so having these guys accept the responsibility of being deputy chiefs, which is thankless, especially they're getting it from me on one side and they're getting it from the rank and file guys on the other side. So it's kind of thankless sometimes, but it just goes to show their dedication. I couldn't be happier to have these two guys.
Yeah. Yes.
I love that.
It's really important to have a good leadership team, and now that you are all set, you've had this team in place for over a year, and I would love for either of you, either Chris or Mark, to explain what it is that you're in charge of, what your day-to-days look like.
Well, I'm in charge of the patrol division, like Chief Gilbert said. I'm also in charge of recruiting, getting people through, hopefully successfully through the hiring process, trying to find talent. Yeah. It seems like when we took over, it seemed, we were shorthanded by about 15 positions.
Wow.
And so we've hired some quality individuals, men and women, to get back on track in that area. But we've also lost a few guys. So
yeah, and that happens.
It does. It happens.
You have to be prepared for that.
Yes. So that's probably my day-to-day thing is recruiting.
Yeah. And I know that's a huge chunk of your role. And it even goes as far as to have that person interested in the police department contact you by calling you.
Yes, I have.
And you are the person that they call.
Yeah, the billboards have my phone number on it.
I think that's awesome.
I carry the phone with me everywhere I go. I get calls
Does that keep
and
you
texts.
busy?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It does. But we're getting to the point now where we're starting to fill spots. So we're getting close.
Okay, let's go ahead and have you give your phone number. And we can do that if you want.
Yeah, it's 765-506-6731.
Okay.
You can text me, leave your name. You can call me, and then have you come in. I like to have people come in and sit down in my office, and I basically try to sell the department to them and go about it that way.
Yeah, there are some things that you do that help market the police department, and let's go ahead and get into that because there are some different things that you are doing. You mentioned the billboards on the roads. We have trading cards, which are more like they're fun for the kids, but then they're also just something that reaches out to the community. What are some things that you are doing that are helping to reach out to potential applicants?
Well, we're showing as a department, we're giving back to the community at functions like the 4th of July, the functions that Marion puts on. We make sure that we get out and have a presence and show a positive presence. We have the 10-foot policeman, Johnny Law. Yes. And then he has,
that's right.
Yes. And then one of the first purchases Chief Gilbert made last year was the police car for him.
Yeah, the inflatable police car.
Yeah.
That gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, it does. And then, a teenager might see that and decide, man, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
And choose a career in law enforcement.
I think it can make a long-lasting impact.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we've had officers run 5Ks in their uniform at the Popcorn Festival.
Hard.
Yeah, and it kind of drew some attention.
Yeah.
We have guys that come in from other departments and are thinking about making the transition to our department. And I see Chief Gilbert gave you a year-end report.
Yes.
That's amazing. That inside of that packet there is amazing. I mean, I truly believe that you get a guy who's trying to choose departments or a gal. Once they look through that, then they'll make their choice to our department.
We posted this, by the way. So the 2024 progress report was in our news and events section of our website. And I will add that to your page to make sure that folks know the progress report on your own page. And you even have your own recruitment page. So if one were to go to cityofmarion.in.gov and go to the government page, then you'll find the police page and you'll find the job opportunities page, and everything is right there. All of the programs and services that you offer and the requirements to be a police officer are all listed. So I love that you are just available just by phone, or if someone wants to email you, it's cbutche@cityofmarion.in.gov. So that is a big part of your role. In addition to leading all of your men and women.
Yes, in uniform. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Mark. Your responsibilities. So you have a big detective background, and then you also are in charge of operations. So what does that look like on your day to day?
I help with detectives when they have major cases. I have a good captain that's in charge, Josh Ziegler, and then the rest of the detectives fall in suit with that. They're all well-trained detectives, ready to get out and work, and they make my job pretty easy. The personnel that's up front is mostly civilian. It's all civilian personnel, and they handle the day-to-day operations of keeping all the ins and outs of the police department rolling, and they do a tremendous job too. So my job is to come to work and answer whatever they can't figure out, and I don't pass the buck, but I also let them do their thing, and I'm just there for their support, and whatever else these guys need done, I try to jump on it and get it done. So
it's the only way they can grow. as leaders themselves.
Yeah, so I like the MacGyver of the police department. If
The MacGyver?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
if something crazy needs done, then I usually am the one to
Go,
to
gadget arm.
try to get it done. So, but
Yes.
I can't. The people that work at that place are good people. We have a lot of good leaders. We have a lot of good workers. We have a lot of good professionals there that make our job very easy.
So speaking of those challenges that do come up from time to time, do you want to talk about any challenges that you get periodically and how you basically deal with it as leaders, really, if you want to talk about that?
The biggest challenge we got right now has been manpower, keeping manpower up to par. It's hard to. We feel like we deliver a good service, but we could deliver better if we had the manpower where it needs to be, because there's sometimes we can't focus attention on everything that needs to be done because we're trying to juggle 25 things at once. And
right.
So that's been the biggest obstacle to overcome. The other is just I'm going to touch on what Chief Gilbert will probably get onto sometime, is just the fact of overcoming the bad publicity that we've received over the last years. Not we, our department, but just the police, law enforcement in general.
Yes.
Trying to overcome those obstacles. They're frustrating because we have good people. There are good people out there, like any profession. There are probably people that shouldn't be in our profession, but for the most part, there are good people in there, and it's frustrating to try to work cases, try to get things done, try to protect the public when you have all these distractions out here. And the bad thing
is
misconceptions.
Yeah,
the majority of people who support us are the silent ones, that they support us silently, and when we truly appreciate that.
Yeah, that challenge of the misconception, I mean, that's such an understatement. David, do you want to go into that and how you can basically rectify any of those misconceptions that are out there about what it is to be a police officer and I don't know.
Yeah. I'd be glad to. I don't know how much time you have. I could talk for 4 hours on that if you let me, but the thing
we have up to an hour.
Our responsibility is to keep doing the next right thing. If we do that, this profession will be okay. And I'm glad that Chief Stefanatos mentioned that not MPD, but we're part of a larger law enforcement community. In the last 7, 8, 9 years or so, I call it the vilification of the police. It's a phenomenon that's happened, and I think unfairly. It's
there are villains in every field of work.
Yeah, you know what? But I don't want to. I want to be careful. I hear that statement a lot, and I agree on the face. But and I'm not a sociologist or I don't have a doctorate in any kind of a study. But I can tell you this, based on my own little laboratory experiment of a 38-year police career, and I've met chief after chief. I've talked to them, networked with them, met literally hundreds of police officers in trainings and working. And I just say this, my theory is this, that if you take the pie chart of the population of our country, 100% of the population of our country, and you can identify, however you define evil or ne'er-do-wells, people who hurt people for a living, mm-hmm. and you took that pie chart, whatever that percentage would be, and I think it's probably 2.5% to 3%, 3 point something percent, depending on what you read, of bad people, that people who hurt people, and you accept that as a reality, whatever that, it's a small minority. Most people are good people, go to work, come home, and don't hurt other people. Then if you take extrapolate that same concept to the police profession, where you have this 100% of the population of the police profession mm-hmm. pie chart, and you sliced out the slice that is evil, however you define that, mm-hmm. a dishonest policeman who hurt people when they shouldn't, like Mark said, who shouldn't really be in the position. I think it's a smaller piece of the pie. I really do.
Yeah.
I think to say they're bad teachers. I've had bad teachers before. Teachers who were nice people, probably just shouldn't be teaching kids. They're bad attorneys. They're bad nurses.
Exactly.
They're bad doctors have malpractice insurance. They're some of the
Yes.
smartest people in the world, but they still have to have that insurance because they make mistakes. So I think that's the human condition. The problem is those other professions don't wear a camera around their neck to record everything they do on their job, and we do. And that's a tough bar. That's a tough bar, especially considering the business that we're in, which is I call the conflict business. We are in the conflict business, and business is good. So when you combine that, when we're called to solve people's problems who haven't been able to solve them in a lifetime, and we're supposed to solve them in 15 minutes, not knowing anything when we get there. These officers are sent to the calls where nobody wants to go. We deal with people who other people cross the street to avoid, who are afraid of. We stand up to those people. And when you do that, when you tell someone you've done something where a judge has said you have a warrant for your arrest, you've harmed someone, you battered someone, you battered your wife, you drove drunk and hurt someone, you burglarized someone's home, and a judge has said, we think there's probable cause to think you've done this, we have to go arrest that person. And they're tempted to say, no, I don't think I'm going to go with you.
Right.
Well, they are going to come with us. And so when that happens, that's conflict. And sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's on camera. I say this, use of force is never pretty. It's not pretty. It's not the movies. This is not the movies. It's real. And these guys are real human beings. So we train the best we can, but sometimes what we do is, what's that old analogy, making sausage. Everybody wants to eat the sausage, but they don't want to see how it's made.
Right.
And that's that's probably a pretty crude analogy of our business, but that's the business we're in. So to put these guys out in harm's way, which is what I do, what we do, we tell these guys to go out into harm's way and protect people, even if you have to hurt someone else to do it who might want to harm someone. And then we don't support them sometimes. I think that's dishonorable. If I'm going to put your son or daughter into harm's way, my responsibility is to support them when they're trying to do the right thing, even if they make a mistake.
Absolutely.
And I think the bar is set so high for us through misinformation. I think there's, and I hate to say that word, but there's a perception of the police that's been foisted on the public that the police are evil, that the police look for people who don't look like them to treat them badly. And I've never met that policeman.
It is
before.
definitely misinformation.
It's especially, and I'll bring it back to Marion. The guys we have working at the police department, guys and gals, they're good men and women. I would let any of them watch my grandkids. I would let any of them, if I was incapacitated for weeks and I needed someone to watch my grandkids or my own kids when they were young, every one of the people I would trust with that, and that's the highest endorsement. So, but what the unintended consequences, or maybe it was intended. When I was chief before, we'd have 100 people show up for testing. To hire 3 or 4 or 5, that meant we were rejecting 95% of the people who came to apply on the first day.
But now,
Chief Butche will tell you, if we have 10 people show up, we're overjoyed, and we're shorthanded. We'd hire those 4 or 5 people before. That was to get us fully staffed. That's what we.
And you've even upped your salary, your base salary.
Yeah, thanks to Mayor Morrell, he negotiated a raise for our guys. Great, that makes us more attractive, more marketable. But again, I won't talk about the past except for what it means today. But when I was chief before, we were budgeted for 73 police officers. And that's just a number floating in the air by itself, unless I tell you by comparison. When we took over last year in January, we had 47 police officers who could do police work, and 3 of them were in the pipeline before the end of that month a year ago. Were set to retire. That's what so we went from 73 to below 50 with the same demands of the job. And that's because that theory that I talked about, the vilification of the police, I think the unintended consequence is that if you make the profession seem dishonorable and unattractive, the good men and women who wanted to do the job years ago are going to go and they're going to be lawyers, they're going to be firefighters, they're going to be teachers. They're going to do something else because they're going to watch the news and say, I'd love to serve that way.
Yeah.
But I can't take the risk. I have a family. That officer I'm watching on the news looks like he's trying to do the right thing in a tough spot, but they're firing him or they're arresting him. And, it's made it to the point where we're having a hard time getting people to want to do the job because they're making a business decision about their future. I don't want to be in trouble fairly or unfairly. So they're going to do something that's more safe and probably pays more money.
Right.
So the challenge, that's on Chief Butche, is to find those gems, those diamonds in the rough. Even though before we rejected 95% of the people who applied, now to find them in the first place is so much harder. I'm telling you, if you'd have told me a few years ago that we would have billboards advertising openings, I'd have told you were crazy. We would never have spent money doing that before, but we have to do that now.
Yeah.
Our Facebook page, we have 37,000 friends plus on Facebook. And you know, most of the content almost everything we put on Facebook, and it's robust. It's fresh content almost every day. And most of it has some tie to recruiting, whether it's overt or it's maybe a little more covert. But everything we're trying to do is what is going to appeal to a 21-year-old kid who just got out of college, or a 22-year-old kid who just got out of the military, or maybe a kid that's been working in a factory and just isn't fulfilled. What's going to will they see this and go, ooh, I want to try that. I want to do that. That's what it's all about. And that's where 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 years ago, we would never have, we had leverage. You came to us. If you couldn't make we had one hiring date a year, testing day. If you couldn't make it,
one small window.
We'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Now, how many we do, Chris, last year?
6.
6.
Wow.
And we'll go pick the guys up and bring them to the testing if we have to.
Well, you shouldn't have to do that, and I hope that 5 years from now that a lot of changes are made and instilled so that we are not having this conversation 5 years from now due to the new leadership.
Let me just say this. I'm dominating at the time. I'm gonna step back. But if you're listening to this broadcast, and I want you to hear me say it, I'm the chief of police in Marion, Indiana. I'm telling you what, if you are working a job right now that you don't feel like you're helping people, maybe you're making a living, you have kids, you can be up to 40 years old and still try this. If you want to have a job, you're not going to make $1 million. You're going to make an honest living. You're going to be able to support your family. You might have to work a part-time job, a side gig. But if you want to do something that you can go home and say, I helped somebody today. I actually did some good today. If you want that and you want to be around people, our family at MPD is something that is worth more than money. And if you want that experience, if you played sports in high school and you miss it, that team thing, if you miss that, come talk to us. Call Chief Butche and have a conversation. It'll be worth your time.
Thank you so much. That was really well said and very, very important messaging. I'm going to take a quick break and just remind you guys to stay connected with us by following City of Marion IN on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok, as well as our website, cityofmarion.in.gov, and through My Marion app on your Android or iPhone. So we are sitting here with Marion Police Chief David Gilbert, Deputy Chief Chris Butche, and Deputy Chief Mark Stefanatos. I'm going to have another time to do a fun question because we are going to talk soon about some fun, really exciting things that the Marion Police Department is doing. But first, I want to learn maybe a hobby of yours. So Chris, let's start with you. What is one of your hobbies or interests outside of work?
The number one is probably fishing.
Fishing. Oh, that's good.
It's relaxing. It clears my mind. It's also challenging.
Do you like to deep sea fish, or do you anything like that?
We have a lake cottage about an hour north of Marion. It's been in the family for a long time, and
cool.
Use that lake to fish. I just probably spent my last day ice fishing yesterday.
Oh, so, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a big hobby too. So.
That just freaks me out thinking about ice fishing, and I see people out there doing it. And I mean, what conditions need to happen for you to do that?
For me, you can't be any less than 4 inches of ice or I won't step out there.
I was going to say that, man, that's scary.
You have some safety equipment that you can use and that too. So,
How many people do you fish with, or is it at least one other person?
Yeah, my dad. Me and my dad, we go to northern Minnesota the last week of May. We make that like a tradition, and we go up there and spend a week fishing at a resort. And then I got my son, he loves to fish. Mark and his son like to fish and hunt. So,
did I just take your answer, Mark?
Oh no.
Okay, go for it, Mark.
First off, I enjoy my family. That's my biggest thing is just my wife, my wife Chris. We've been married for 27 years, I think. She'll get mad at me because I'm probably a year off on that, but
She's only 29. How's that?
Do you guys travel? What do you like to do together?
we like the motorcycle.
Cool.
I'm a big motorcycle guy. I like to ride motorcycles. I've been raised around motorcycles all my life, and I enjoy that. And I do a lot of shooting with my boys and hunting and fishing and stuff like that with the kids.
That's wonderful. You've got how many kids?
I've got 2 boys.
Great. So that's developing really good skills, learning from the best, I'm sure. Okay, David, you want to talk about a hobby, an interest that you have outside of work?
I'm pretty boring. I guess mine would be my family, spend time with my wife, and I've got a bunch of grandkids now. I try to spend time with them, but really it's kind of work.
Wow.
And
You have a bunch of grandkids?
I have a bunch of Don't ask me the number. I will fail you. My mother will be ashamed of me because she can tell the number and the
Well, because
date of
the number
births
keeps
and-
changing.
Oh yeah, that's my excuse. But I've got several, and I'm blessed, and I love them. And my wife and I, we just enjoy the time. We just work and sleep. Every policeman that I've ever met has a side gig. I have that too, and
Yeah.
we just work. But we try to spend time together. But I'm pretty boring. I get enough excitement at work.
I mean, do you read? Do you?
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
read voraciously. Mostly
I could tell you're
on
a
a
reader.
laptop now, but yeah. But who wants to hear about that?
I know, but if it's a hobby, I mean, you should be
Yeah.
able to share and brag on it because, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So I know that MPD, I've known this from when I was a reporter, and I got to know all the different great things you do, not even from training, but, I got to see you guys do a lot of different youth academy programs, which you still do to this day. Does anyone want to talk about Youth Academy? Mark? All right.
Every year we have a youth academy at the police department. We've had it for, I think Chief Gilbert was the actual inventor of it. If I recall right, he had a nephew or a relative that went to it in another city, and he said, and Chief Gilbert's big about, hey, if they can do that, we can do that.
Nice.
So-
I had no idea.
And better.
Yeah.
So that was your birth child. That's great.
Well, it had been done before. We just my nephew,
okay.
who's a doctor now. That's how long ago it was. He went through it with Columbus PD, and no offense to Columbus PD, but he didn't have a good time. It was a lot of sitting. It was sitting in a classroom listening to people talk. Many of them, he's the smartest kid ever back then. He still is, but he could tell they didn't want to be there. He told me. I said, "Tell me about this. This intrigues me." And he could tell they didn't want to be there. And I just quizzed him for an hour and a half probably. I said, "Hey, what'd you like? What didn't you like?" And we just built our program based on what the kids would like. We have our kids rappel.
Yeah.
We decided to do is to have values or things we wanted to teach, but not hit them over the head with it, like overcoming fear, camaraderie, not leaving anybody behind, just those kinds of values things. So the rappelling was overcoming a fear. And I don't think any other youth academy is doing that. We have our kids rappel off the side of a building. They'll take a bite from the bite suit from our canines.
The canine program is really,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
We do some live scenarios with the SWAT team. Well, I wouldn't say live. They're scenarios with the SWAT team. They get to actually shoot a gun at the range. So
I got to do that one time.
Everything is hands-on. And the way I look at it is because my kids have been through it. Butche's sons have been through it. Your kids have probably been through it at some point. But there are some policemen here on our department right now that will say, I remember when you were my instructor for criminal investigations in the youth academy. So it's a young recruiting tool to put that interest in that child. And we do have to cut it to I think we have 20, 25 kids because of our actual room. And if you get too many kids, it just gets too complicated. So there's a selection process. They have to write a letter saying why they want to go, and then we select the kids, and we try to change it up. we do have some that try to get back in every now and then, back to back, and sometimes we have to say, hey, it's time for someone else to go. But we target that middle, like 12 to 14 age group, give or take a little bit, and we spend a week with them. And the officers come in, and there's no downtime. It's boom, 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 right to the point where we have city buses waiting to take them and transport them to the next scenario or the next thing that we're going to train them on. So,
what do you think they enjoy the most?
It just depends, because you have kids that have different interests. They love the dogs. They love the guns, because most kids have probably, they haven't had a chance to ever shoot a gun before. The rappelling is the fear. That's not probably the most liked, but once they get it done, it's like, can I do that again?
Yes, and to be able to say that they did it, that they overcame the fear.
So one of the things we do, we PT, we physically train. We make them.
I'm glad
run.
You said that.
Yeah, we make them run and do that, but we recognize too that some of the kids aren't going to be athletically gifted, and so what we do is we don't make it a race. What we do, we know some kids will be gifted, and what they're encouraged to do, maybe not so subtly, is the kid who's not good at running is not going to be left behind. I don't care how fast you get to the finish line. This guy nobody's going to finish running alone.
Okay. Right.
And that's the value. There's enough competition in the world. We cherish that. We want competition is a good thing, but in our business, you don't leave your partner behind, and that's one of those values that we try to teach with our program.
We'd also get this out now for people to start watching for that on our Facebook, because we're getting around a time where we're going to be taking some applications for it and stuff. In the next few months, we'll be planning it out and then putting the application process out. And we'd like to have a full house again, like we always do.
Well, because it happens each June, right?
Yeah, it's usually into June, July-ish. We try to fit it into where we make sure that we have several of our officers available. So we look at what's the best time, what do we have going on at that time. So because we put all hands on and total focus, we don't slack off on it at all. So we want to make sure we look at what's the best week for our officers that are going to be involved in that.
Well, I know aside from just the Youth Academy alone, because that's so exciting, and just they must feel so privileged to be a part of that, and when they do get to go through that program. But you guys are looking into, and you've already started a drone program. I would love for someone to talk about the drones. Okay, Chris, what is the purpose of having a drone in the operation of police work?
Well, you can use the drone in several different areas. We use it for tracking individuals. Just last year, we found a weapon that was used in a homicide on a roof.
Is that right?
Yes, we would have probably never found that unless we had to we were able to put the drone up and take a look on top of a roof and found it.
Wow. How long did it take to find it?
It was pretty quick, because we had it narrowed down to an area, and the camera resolution on those drones are so good, able to zoom right in from hundreds of feet in the air.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And take pictures on it. And in the year-end report, I think it's in there.
Okay.
One of the things that the drone program has allowed us to do. Like I said, tracking. Maybe you might have somebody with Alzheimer's or an elderly person that's gotten lost.
Oh,
and so we can get the drone in the air, and it's got heat sensors and all that.
I was going to say, I was wondering if it was like that.
Yeah.
Like the movies.
It's also been used, we use it in our SWAT operations too. We'll send it in a house where, if we have a house with a barricaded subject, we can put them in there instead of sending a dog or a human being in there. We can try to search that room, and they're getting really good. The guys we have can fly them really well inside houses.
Can I make a confession?
Okay.
I was a non-believer when it came to the drones. I just heard Chris say track people, and I kind of cringe when I hear that. I think we should leave good citizens alone. But if a kid is lost, we can find the kid.
Right.
We're not tracking citizens. But I was kind of in that mindset. What are we doing here? Is this Big Brother? What? I'll admit that, but Sergeant Max Fisher is in charge of the program, and that scenario that Mark just described was we had a subject barricaded in a house who was wanted, a bad guy who was wanted. We'd got him in a house. We knew he was probably in there, and Sergeant Fisher sent that drone in to clear the parts of the house that we knew could be safe without sending a human being or a dog in. Made it a lot safer. And then, of course, the person was in a room hidden. The drone didn't find him necessarily, but it did exclude all these other places where we knew he wasn't at. And then we were able to send the team in to finish the job.
Wow.
Well, that reduced our risk to our guys exponentially. It was, and when I saw that, 3 a.m, Mark, I that's all I need to know. But it made my guys safer. I'm a believer now. And I think it was that SWAT call out where I was unfamiliar, so I thought it would be bouncing off the walls. I didn't imagine it could be so precise. So I asked Max to fly it around in the house. We'd cleared the house, fly it around. I'm going to go in and watch it. And it was so precise, and not only that, but it has a camera on it. So I saw the video of myself looking like an idiot watching this thing fly around. I looked pretty foolish, but I came to realize this thing is an asset, and it's not Big Brother. We're not sitting in off people's houses to watch them do whatever they may be doing, but it's helped us find kids who were lost. It's helped us find an old person who's been lost, solved a murder case, and makes our guys safer. That's a win.
Yeah, that is just instrumental.
Yeah.
And that's all that you need is just to help your guys be safer.
Kudos to Max Fisher. I kid. I think Max is too smart to be a policeman sometimes, but he's just one of those guys that has a gift of technology and knowing how things just work, and he's really built that program from scratch, so I'm really proud of him.
And it's also can be a recruiting tool. I've had
That's right.
people come in and sit in my office, and we talk about, and I show them drone videos, the different videos, and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys have drones here. And I'm like, yeah. So.
And half of them probably already know how to operate one from all the video games.
I won't tell. I can't do it. There's no way.
We're not allowed to touch them.
Okay. You're not, Mark?
All of us.
Oh, you're not? You have to be certified.
Yeah, well,
you have to be certified, right?
And Max has told us that we can't touch them.
Yeah. Layla's trying hard to help us out. But.
Right. Well, let them do their specialty. You have so many different specialties that you can get into as a police officer. You mentioned SWAT, which is also called the Emergency Response Team. That is so exciting too, just to be able to get in there, have a special team that you're a part of that can fight crime in that way. And you have demonstrations for, we were talking about Youth Academy, but we have an event every year called National Night Out, where the police officers are there, and it's a big event where you can come learn about a lot of different aspects of police work. There is usually a canine demonstration. You can find out all kinds of information from them. They can maybe give you a sample pack of trading cards. There's what else? I don't know what else is. Oh, Johnny Law is usually there. You're able to, Zion, therapy dog Zion is always making an appearance at community events, and he's such a big hit, and he's so cute, and just so many things going on. Guys, before we end, I want you guys to be able to plug your social media so that people can find what you're up to day to day, like your Facebook page. Mark, do you want to give us that?
It's Marion PD,
Indiana.
Marion Police, Indiana.
Marion Police, Indiana. And then there is we do have an Instagram that's a spin-off of that you can find also on that. But that's been a great tool as our social media. We're trying to improve that every day to make communications better, to let people know what we got going on. So
I highly recommend going to those pages.
If you're not on there, get on there and like us and make our likes more. We have more followers and more likes than the Sheriff's Department.
Hey, and you got to keep that up, right?
Yeah.
So it is Marion Police, and it's in parentheses, Indiana. and there's a lot of great content. We're actually sitting here with Rob Bogar, who's been doing some contract work from Media Outfitters LLC. He's got some work that he has been posting on your page as well as the city page. You can see all kinds of different demonstrations of all facets of the police work that you do. It's incredible, and it really is so much to talk about. It's so interesting, and it's really a way to serve your community that you can be proud of if you want to be a police officer. Chris, do you want to give your phone number one more time?
Oh, sure. 765-506-6731. Text or call, and we'll set up a time where you can come in and we can talk.
All right. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting before we end our podcast today?
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
I would just throw out there that we have a lot of specialties within our department. So if you have a group or an organization that think you might need something, let us know. We can come out, we can educate. We do a lot of talks with public talks on different kinds of crime and what we do, what we can and can't do and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. If we can't do it, we'll tell you, hey, we can't do it. We'll find you somebody that can. But we like to get out in the public and meet people and show what we know and what we can do.
Nice. Yeah. So if you have a certain interest or you're just curious about all the different fields of work or just one specific field of work within Marion Police, please reach out. They are in City Hall, and there's a lot of great civilian employees that work there. They're just wonderful to work with. So it would be a great team to work with. So thank you guys very much for joining me today on the How Marion Works podcast. You can follow us on social media. Listen to the podcast on all major platforms like Apple, Spotify, and all the major platforms. We release episodes every other Monday at 5 a.m., so just be on the lookout. All episodes are found at howmarionworks.com. So for David Gilbert, Chris Butche, and Mark Stefanatos, I'm Layla Price Bodkin, and this is How Marion Works. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the How Marion Works podcast. We hope you'll join us next time.